Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony. Welcome to another video. So before the video starts, I'd like to let you know that Antonio Brown still hasn't gone anywhere. I'm pretty sure you guys all know, but I'm still of the belief he's going to go to the Oakland Raiders. I don't really think the Steelers will keep him for another year, and I've been looking at teams that make sense. Maybe the Lions, but they haven't really been vocal at all. But that's what happened with the Bills. They weren't vocal at all, and like all of a sudden it was just like, oh, the Lions. So maybe the Lions or the Panthers may make a move over here real quick, and Seattle has a lot to spend, but I'm still of the belief the Oakland Raiders, and it's going to be a first and a fifth. It's going to be a first. They're going to swap their first round picks, and the Raiders will get back a fifth or a fourth. That's my belief right now. Also, another update, I have a couple of videos coming out, MLB predictions for the 2018-2019 season. Also have another series coming out exploring Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, that draft, who won their respective trades, how did they get into the positions they did, and kind of like the new NFL. I think both those teams embody the new NFL. I'll explain why. It's going to be a 3 to 4 part series. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Enjoy the video.
Now, what First Take does is they always bring race into stuff, and race has nothing to do with the majority of things they talk about. They can talk about like something with like Serena Williams, and they start talking about, oh, you know, she did this for racial justice, and you know, just stop looking into race with all these things. It makes no sense to me. So KYLER Murray, it recently came out that, you know, film study wasn't really good when he was with the teams. I honestly, what I took out of that was, you know, he wasn't really focused on the team. He didn't really want to play for the team, and that's what I've said. I said, you know, if he doesn't get drafted to the right team, he'll pick baseball. He's more than glad. He reminds me a lot of kind of almost an Eli Manning, honestly, because he's like, I'm not playing with the San Diego Chargers. I don't care what you do. I do not want to play for them. He reminds me of a lot of other players. You know, like, he wants to be in the right situation. That's why I said you have to know 100% that he wants to play with you. You're kind of almost trapped. You know, you have to almost be pleasing him the entire time and giving him all the right things, because you never know. You know, if he's unhappy, he'll go to a different team. Anyway, so the point of this video is that I'm actually defending KYLER Murray in this a little. So this has nothing to do with race. That's one of my takeaways. This has nothing to do with race. You know what the number 2 guy in the draft's name is? Dwayne Haskins. That doesn't sound like a white name to me. Yeah, he's black. And they're not stereotyping based on race. They're stereotyping based on play. Same thing happened with Michael Vick. Same thing happened with Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota is not black, I can tell you that much. People were talking about how Jameis Winston is a better quarterback. But the only thing they were questioning is legitimate character issues with Jameis Winston. They were questioning, hey, this crab leg stuff, hey, this FSU thing. I think before he went to FSU, he also got banned from a different school. These are legitimate concerns. You know, you can't, just because something is a concern and they have a race does not mean that it's racist. Like, if Nick Bosa is the number 1 prospect overall, I'm pretty sure everyone confirms that. Just because the number 1 prospect is white doesn't mean that that's systemic racism. That's because he's the number 1 prospect. Now, I'm not denying that there's some systemic racism, and I kind of understand some of their arguments in that perspective, like how baseball players get paid way more, how they have way more freedom, how like the NBA, you can do one and done, but you can't go straight out of high school. You can make those arguments. You know, those arguments are for a different day. But I think KYLER Murray, this is not because he's black. This is because he's 5'10" and an eighth. This is because he has a certain style of play that makes him more prone to get hit. I know RG3 was not good at avoiding tackles. People say KYLER Murray is better at avoiding the big hit, quote unquote. This is a question that a white person of his size and stature would be asked the same too. Imagine a 5'10" white guy. I know one of my quarterback in high school. He was 5'10". He threw 100 touchdown passes in the 3 years he was in high school. That's pretty legit. You know, if you look at it, he had a better high school career than many pro quarterbacks now. But he was 5'10". That was the stereotype. He was a low small. He can't see over the offensive line. What about Christian McCaffrey? He was white. People were like, oh, I'm not sure if he can be successful. But guess what? He was. You know, Michael Vick, people weren't sure if he can be successful. Guess what? He was. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But, you know, he was successful. He found a way to adjust his play and translate that into the NFL. This does not have to do anything with race. This has to do with the style of play. They're questioning his commitment, and these are legitimate concerns. These concerns have transcended between white and black players. It's about the stereotype of play. I think there are some racists out there that are like, they turn a blind eye to black people, and I think that's wrong. I think based on the discussions of race, you cannot discriminate against somebody because of their color, but that's to your own discretion. Nobody's forcing these teams to pick a player. If you feel uncomfortable with somebody's style of play, you feel somebody's culture that they bring in, there's a certain, I'm tiptoeing the line. If you feel like the type of person, no matter white or black or Hispanic or Asian, even, has there been an Asian quarterback yet? I don't know, but I don't think Asians are into the football. But if there's a certain characteristic, a certain character that you don't like in the person, it may be because they grew up in a certain style. It may be because they had a rough upbringing, they have had a lot of drugs, a lot of crime, and you don't like that style of upbringing. You'd rather somebody who's more from white collar, middle class, grown like that. You'd rather somebody like that. That's your decision. Let another team, like the Patriots have, like the Cowboys have recently, take a chance on a guy with either a drug history. I'm not saying KYLER Murray does drugs, but like a certain character style. That's the way you want to build your team. I'm fine with that, as long as a bunch of owners aren't colluding and saying we don't want this style player. I mean, there are plenty of teams like Jerry Jones that would love a quarterback like KYLER Murray, that would love to take chances on guys, let guys have a second chance, and that's what makes the league go round. And now all those guys that are like put down, like maybe Deshaun Watson didn't get a high grade that he should have gotten because of his style of play. Now you prove all these people wrong, and they're going to be the successful teams. If KYLER Murray ends up being successful, that's great. I'm all for that. I'm not saying, KYLER Murray sucks and I want KYLER Murray to play bad. I want him to play well. That gives a bunch of other opportunities to people of the same height. All it just takes is for a desperate team, or a team that I don't think this is right, to pick a play like that, and it can change the narrative.
And quick update news. It turns out that KYLER Murray is running and weighing in. So all the questions of, he just bulked up and he didn't want to run the 40 because he knew he'd run it slow. We'll see his weight, his height, and then how he plays at that weight and height. So that's great. Good for KYLER Murray. And I'm actually glad. This kind of changed my opinion a little bit, but let's get back into it.
Oh yeah, and do you know who else had many of the same opinions about him? Was also 5'10", also went to Texas A&M, Johnny Manziel. Now, KYLER Murray doesn't have drug problems, like I've been saying, but he does have problems with, knowing the playbook, his commitment to football. Johnny Manziel had questions about his commitment to football, whether he had the drive to study or he's just going to go out partying. Although these problems aren't the same, they still are problems after all. There still are questions that people have, and these are legitimate questions. Now, I think the guy was a little bit out of line because apparently he doesn't know KYLER Murray that well, and it may lead to racist or stereotypical problems. And I think you have to know KYLER Murray the guy, and people who know KYLER Murray the guy usually say, you know what, he's not as bad as people think. But it is still a question that people have, and this is only going to help him. I think this is only going to make him want to play football more and prove people wrong more. And honestly, it's good for KYLER Murray because I think he's going to have a pretty successful career. The more people Tom Brady said, if I wasn't picked in the 6th round, I probably wouldn't have ended up like the player I am today, because it gives you a chip on your shoulder. This has anything to do with race, because Dwayne Haskins is a pure pocket passer, and nobody is discriminating against him and being like, oh, he can't play. He's dumb he's dumb with the whiteboard. He's dumb with this. He's dumb with that. See, Baker Mayfield was smart with it, and all of a sudden KYLER Murray's bad. No, it's just because different people have different personalities. I'm just completely done with certain people reading into certain racial things that don't exist. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.